Am I the a-hole for not putting up with my disabled sister? So I phrased the title the way I did because it hopefully means this post won't just die off and I'll get some opinions. My 22 male older sister, 27 female Gemma, is disabled. She has severe scoliosis to the point where she can only walk very short distances using a walker and can't really carry anything. Our entire family that lives nearby, me, my dad, our neighbor who is also but slightly less severely disabled, and my younger sister, help her out to any extent, with my dad paying her bills and rent, and me doing lots of physical things for her and helping look after her 6 animals. However, Gemma has been treating me horribly since I moved into her village to be near family. I'm a working musician and street performer, and she constantly dismisses my work and stops me from practicing in my house. We live next to each other, not the same house, and otherwise insults my work and career, calling me lazy and saying I'm a leech. I pay 500 pounds in rent and bills to live here and I'm completely self-sufficient. But me and my dad often buy each other things or lend each other money for convenience. It's gotten to the point where she's blocked my phone number and all social media to prove that I'm worthless, and she says it doesn't matter because I don't need you for anything anyway. So my response now is to just not help her, carrying shopping for her, helping look after her animals. Everything I have been doing, I'm now not, because I refuse to let her treat me this way. My younger sister agrees with me, but my dad says I need to just buckle down and be the bigger person.
Yes, and being the bigger person means be a flatter doormat to some people. You are under no obligation to help a toxic person even if she's family. Everyone enables her bad behavior and expects you to also. Nope. Give her consequences for her behavior, and maybe she can learn to be a decent human being. Being disabled doesn't mean you get a free ride to be an asshole. Dad wants you to keep helping, so it lets him off the hook. Is he going to her and telling her to stop being a witch to you? Is he berating her for her behavior? No. Then he doesn't have a leg to stand on. Tell him when he goes to her and tells her to stop treating her family like crap and she comes and apologizes, you may think about it. But if the behavior starts again, she won't get a second chance. Your dad created this monster, now he has to live with it. Keep ignoring her and maybe that can help her because your dad enables her so badly it's ruined her. You are doing her a favor by teaching her that behavior has consequences, something your dad should have already done. My friend C has 2 other siblings. B and AA is the eldest, B is the middle child and C is the youngest. C and B got into a disagreement because their father had a surgery, not in US, and B decided that the ward was as good as a private room for their almost 80 dad. This was just last December, when COVID was spreading in their country and killing hundreds of thousands of people. B asked C, why didn't you get a private room? C lives in the US. I would have paid for it and gets told, you're arrogant because of your youth and you don't know what you are talking about. C apologizes, I still don't know why, and B never replies. Then C gets told by A that B is under a lot of stress and talk to them so they can kiss and make up. C calls B again and gets shouted at again. C goes low contact and the whole family is mad at C now. Because this is your family and you can't do this. I am firmly on C's side, but the family has started love bombing recently and I feel like they are about to fold. NTAOP, I hope you read this and are able to take care of yourself in this difficult situation. Your sister is behaving badly and that's a choice. If she's mentally competent, she is making a choice to behave badly, and that makes her TA. She may be unhappy or frustrated or dissatisfied or in pain or jealous or whatever, but none of that justifies being mean and nasty to you or mixing herself up in your business and crossing reasonable boundaries between adult siblings. I am also disabled and without the practical daily help of my family and little things, living independently would be a real struggle and maybe impossible. Our lives are intertwined to a greater extent than they were before I was disabled, and sometimes on bad days, it's really tempting to lash out at them, because I know I can trust them not to abandon me, but also I know they trust me to choose not to be a jerk, and to have self-control and be responsible and behave appropriately. Your sister needs to re-evaluate her life. How would she be living if she was down to what she could do entirely on her own, or with whatever support she got from social services, and let that evaluation guide her attitude towards your support. NTA, I think she's clearly jealous, watching you live out an interesting life. That doesn't mean she can treat you badly though. She needs to speak with someone and maybe find a community of people that have similar difficulties as she does. There are lots of online and in-person groups. Where I live, there are morning swim therapy groups that I've taken my friend's mom to. She has MS, so maybe something similar for your sister. She is your sister, so maybe it's worth looking into those things. I speak from my relationship with my sister, which is very nice, so this may not work for you. Healthy communication may not be an option, but if it is, give her the chance to talk about this with you. Tell her how she hurts you, and maybe she will open up as well. Again, this advice only works if that is a possibility for you. Not all families can talk it out.
Story 2. Am I the a-hole for hiring a babysitter to watch my son when my ex had an emergency? My 30 male ex-fiance, 28 female, and I have a 3-year-old son together. We broke off our engagement just over a year ago and have a 50-50 custody split. We split time with our son every 2 weeks as my ex moved over an hour away and making the drive every week was too much. Since switching to the 2-week schedule, it has been better for everyone. I started dating again a few months ago and I have been seeing someone quite regularly for about 6 weeks now. This past weekend, we had a date scheduled for Saturday night at a nice restaurant and tickets to go see a show. It was supposed to be our first nice dress-up date as our previous times together have been more informal, like coffee, walks in the park, bowling, etc. Early Saturday morning, my ex calls me. She's frantic and tells me she needs me to come get our son because she's having a family emergency. Apparently, her sister was in a car accident and she's in a hospital a few hours away. My ex wants to go immediately as it seems pretty serious, but she doesn't want to haul our son with. I agree right away and get to my ex's place as soon as I can. When I get home with my son, I contact my date and let her know that an emergency came up and now I have my son. I apologize and tell her I probably have to cancel our date. She says she understands, but asks if I would consider hiring a babysitter and she has a friend who is a nanny and she might be available. She says we can skip dinner and just go to the show so that my son will be almost asleep by the time I would have to leave. I think that's a pretty good idea, so she says she will reach out to her friend. Her friend was free and agreed to babysit, so I get her contact info and talk over the plan with her. By the time she arrives at my place, my son is already asleep, and I have just enough time to meet my date at the show. I put my phone on silent for the show, and when I checked it after the show ended, my ex had called a few times and left a bunch of texts. I excused myself to call her. She immediately flipped out on me for not answering, and it made her think something terrible happened, especially with her mindset with her sister's accident. I told her that her son was at home asleep with a babysitter and I was out on a date. This made her flip out even more, and she told me if she knew I was going to pawn our son off on a babysitter so I could go on a date, she would have never called me to get her. She said this is a huge breach of trust and it makes her seriously question my judgment. I told her son was fine and tried to ask about her sister, but she told me not to try and change the subject. She called me an a-hole and told me she would be coming to get our son as soon as she can. The whole thing pretty much ruined my evening. My ex got our son yesterday afternoon and we fought about it. I don't think I did anything wrong, but she sure does.
NTA, okay sweetie, you are obviously a very responsible young woman. However, this responsibility at a young age has made you think some things are normal when they are not. Here's how a good parent here's how I would have handled this. I had to go out. I ask my responsible teen daughter to watch the kids. I ensure she has my number, plus one other adult she can call. I go out. If I get a call, I answer. Let's say my phone doesn't work. The other adult should have been available. Let's say their phone malfunctions. I come home and find my poor daughter is ill. I am concerned she is ill and get her whatever she needs, doctor, meds, tea to feel better. I'm mortified she was ill and couldn't reach me, but so proud she thought to call the babysitter she knew was trustworthy. I pay her back for using her own money. In future, I give 3 adults she can call, make damn sure my phone is fixed, and text in the time I'm away to be sure she is okay, but even then, only if she agreed to watch the kids prior, or if it was an emergency. You did everything right, honey. I'm proud of you, X. NTA. Okay, so to start, from your responses to most of these replies it sounds like your mother is an awful and manipulative person. She has you convinced you did something wrong in a situation where the only person that actually did something wrong was her, and I'm going to guess that this is not the first time that she has done this either. Has she had other personal issues that she deflects and blames on you? My money is on yes, and that it's a constant. I've been in a similar situation also at 16 and I moved out because of it. I was still a kid myself and had just gotten out of an abusive home situation. I was not about to be someone's live-in babysitter. You also are still a kid. Well, it's okay for your mom to have a break every once in a while and even for her to politely ask you to watch your siblings. It is not okay to act like it's somehow your responsibility and then ignore you while she's out. She messed up by not even looking at her phone while she was out or calling to check in on you at least one time. Your mom just simply does not sound like a fit parent at all. She honestly sounds like a teenager with children. Don't keep telling yourself the way she treats you is okay, or you're going to set yourself up for a world of hurt down the road. NTA. I just want to reiterate what others have said. You did the exact right thing in this situation. Your mom is 5000% in the wrong here. She's wrong for leaving you to watch your siblings so often. They aren't your kids, it's not your job to care for them. She's wrong for not answering her phone. She is wrong for yelling at you and making you feel guilty. She should be thanking you and paying you back for the nanny. I saw in one of your comments that you're having a lot of abdominal pain. If it is in or moves to the lower right of your abdomen, please go to the doctor ASAP as that can be appendicitis. TBH, if you're able to, you should probably go to the doctor anyway, as going from feeling fine to feeling horribly unwell quickly is concerning. If your mom won't take you, please don't hesitate to ask another family member or a friend to take you. You are not bothering them by asking. Your family and friends should care about your health. Ignore your mom, and I hope you feel better soon. Well, you're NTA, you're also NTM, not the mama. Well, 16 is old enough to babysit for a while. If you're sick, all bets are off. You did the right thing to call the nanny. If you were my kid, I'd have come in apologetic for not getting your calls for whatever reason and make sure you're okay and paid the nanny after making sure you were okay. Your mother's behavior was neither reasonable nor normal, and you not only did nothing wrong, but were amazingly responsible. Make sure your grades are good so you can get scholarships to college and live in a dorm. Maybe then watching the idiocy most kids get up to you can realize what a wonderfully sensible and responsible teen you are. If you were local at HIRE and pay you to sit. You sound like an awesome kid. Don't let what I'm hoping was an egregiously bad day on your mom's part make you question that. Definitely NTA.
Story 3. Am I the a-hole for refusing to learn to braid my sister's hair? I, 20 female, am a mixed race by lineage but look purely white. The typical blonde hair, etc. My dad is black and my mom is white. They both are in army, and so me and my siblings grew up at our grandmother's house. Amongst all of us siblings, I'm the only one who looks white, and I'm a carbon copy of my mom, it seems. Rest of my sisters look more like my dad in skin color as well as physical features. I needed to specify the physical appearances because they play a pivotal role in the entire argument. So the backstory in simplest words, my grandmother absolutely hates me. She says I have too much white privilege in me to ever actually belong to her family. She has made it abundantly clear in many ways. Here are a few instances. 1. When I was 5 years old, she tried to do my hair exactly as all of my sisters, except my hair were thin and brittle and straight, and theirs were stronger and coarse. She tried to do the box braids and even afro, all of which resulted in me almost having a bald patch. 2. She nicknamed me Fatty because according to her, I was always fat, overweight. Only now that I look back at my childhood pictures do I realize I was perfectly normal. My school records show I was 140 centimeters and weighed 29 kilograms at 10 years. I'm currently 163 centimeters and weigh 58 kilograms. And she still calls me overweight or fatty, whereas all of my sisters are perfect for her. They may weigh more or less than me, but it's always because they have inherited the beauty genes and live a healthy lifestyle. 3. When I was 13, she constantly pointed out how I was so late to start developing breasts and often called me a flatboard. She often discussed this with her neighbor, best friend in front of me. 4. She paid half of their college tuition, but to me she said I shouldn't get stuff handed to me in my hand. Growing up, I was always jealous of my sisters. I grew up insecure and hating my body. I've only developed a positive relationship with myself in last few months, and I absolutely hate my grandmother for making me live a miserable childhood and teenage, making me worry if I'm looking too chubby or not eating fullest ever. My sisters were amazing. They never made me feel excluded or different, but I could never let go of the separate treatments and love, and I grew kinda aloof and distant. So the current argument was, yesterday my grandmother saw me braiding my friend's hair into a Dutch braid, and my sister said, "Wish I could have that style." My grandmother came to me last night and said I should try and learn some unique style for my sisters too, because family should come before friends. I said, if their style is so important, they can do it to each other or you can do it for them. My grandmother is still taunting me, calling me a privileged piggy, refusing to put in any kind of hard work in life. I know the argument was stupid and insignificant, but I'm not going to budge for her favorite granddaughters who never even asked me to do their hair.
NTA. Have you ever told your parents about the abuse you went through at the hands of your father's mother? If not, please tell them. If they do know and did nothing about it, then they are just as bad in Major Oz. Your grandmother is an emotional, verbal and mentally abusive pose. She favors and adores your siblings because they're not white. Let's be frank and honest here. She only abuses and bullies you because you're white. Call her out for what she truly is, a racist and abusive pose. Your so-called grandmother is a major so please call her out, and it's absolutely gross how she and her friends sexualized you as a teenager by talking constantly about your breasts. So please call her out on everything, make her feel uncomfortable by stating how she abused a child for years, sexualized a child with her friend neighbor by talking constantly about your breast, bullied, belittled and all because of your skin color. Make her squirm, question herself, uncomfortable and feel embarrassed. I would also have your sibling and parents there to witness it as well. She'll most likely try to lie, but I'd bring up the fact of the college tuition and what she said and ask her what the difference is between you and your siblings that make her say those remarks and only leave you out. NTA. Your grandmother is putting undeserved shame on you for being white passing. Someone should call her out on it. However, in your title, you said you refused to learn to braid your sister's hair. Has she ever asked you to, and you said no? Or did she just make that comment, and your grandmother used it to jump on you? Cause your grandma is clearly the asshole, but if your sister wishes you would braid her, and has asked you to, and you refused, in order to spite your grandmother, that would be a little sad. But still, NTA. And the rest of your family should be standing up for you against your grandma. Your NTA, and I'm so sorry for the awful abuse you grew up enduring and continue to endure. I hope you can get out of that house soon. Everyone is telling you why your grandmother is a hateful monster here, so I just want to jump in and advise you not to give up on connecting with your sisters for life. Feeling aloof and distant towards them is totally normal and perfectly fine, but with therapy, you may find that you're able to connect with them much more than you've ever imagined as you get older. Siblings commonly start to connect more with each other as friends in their 20s, but that process might look different for you considering your experiences. What I'm saying is, don't let your grandmother steal your birthright from you in yet another way. Regardless of how she feels about your value, those girls are your sisters, and she will never be able to change that. In a similar vein, it might feel tempting to reject all of the blackness that you were vilified for never having enough of, but even if your grandmother won't acknowledge it, your blackness is valid as is, and no one can ever take that from you. Your NTA, and I'm so sorry for the awful abuse you grew up enduring and continue to endure. I hope you can get out of that house soon. Everyone is telling you why your grandmother is a hateful monster here, so I just want to jump in and advise you not to give up on connecting with your sisters for life. Feeling aloof and distant towards them is totally normal and perfectly fine, but with therapy, you may find that you're able to connect with them much more than you've ever imagined as you get older. Siblings commonly start to connect more with each other as friends in their 20s, but that process might look different for you considering your experiences. What I'm saying is, don't let your grandmother steal your birthright from you in yet another way. Regardless of how she feels about your value, those girls are your sisters, and she will never be able to change that. In a similar vein, it might feel tempting to reject all of the blackness that you were vilified for never having enough of, but even if your grandmother won't acknowledge it, your blackness is valid as is, and no one can ever take that from you.